Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Do the Work with me, your host, Madeline Hewitt. Now, I know it's been a couple weeks since I released an episode, and I'm going to address all of that this week, but first and foremost, it is time for a little life update. This isn't a little life update either. This is a major life update. So, life's been a little crazy the past month and a half or so because I have decided to officially move to Chicago. I will literally be moving to Chicago on August 31st. At least that is when my lease begins. And I am just so freaking excited, but also it's been a lot. So I did officially sign my lease last week. So it is official. I was spending all of my time before that trying to find apartments, researching the city, figuring out all of the ins and outs, asking people for advice. I was potentially hunting for a roommate, and then I was trying to figure out my finances, what I could afford comfortably, It was a process, and needless to say, I found an incredible apartment at an incredible price. I get to continue to live alone, which makes me very excited. And I am I'm absolutely ecstatic. So I get to have one more full summer here in Atlanta, and then it will be off to Chicago I go. Now, this is not said lightly because I have been living in Atlanta for pretty much my entire adult life. So 8-9 years now I've been living in Atlanta. And honestly, I absolutely love my life here in Atlanta. I have made some of the most incredible friends. I have such a fun social life here. There's always something to do. There's always someone to hang out with. It's just honestly, I have had nothing but good things to say about my time here in Atlanta. And I am going to be I know that it's going to hit me at some point just how much or how big of an impact this city has had on me. And I feel like I can already start to feel it, but I know that's going to get stronger the closer I get to leaving. And honestly, would not trade my time here for anything in the world. I think that it has completely, without a doubt, shaped who I am, my time here in Atlanta. And you know what? Who's to say how long I'll be gone? I may be back in a year. I may be back in 15 years. I may never be back. I don't know. The world is quite literally my oyster, and that is so exciting to think about. Now, when it came to deciding to move, really, I think what pushed me to this point. Now, a lot of my friends are leaving this year. I've got 4 or 5 friends that are moving all around the US this year. So there was definitely a push just from oh God, other people are doing it. Let's go ahead and do it. The time is now. There's no time like the present. Let's just go. Let's go on this adventure, right? But then, as I've been sitting here and thinking about all of the work that I've been doing on myself in 2023 and the difference between 2022 and 2023 so far has been actually hard to put into words. It's been such a massive life change for me in such a positive way. And if you've been keeping up with my channel, been keeping up with the podcast, then you know that one of my biggest goals for 2023 was to move. And I am just slowly ticking off those goals check boxes, and that is so satisfying. And I just know that moving is going to be kind of the cherry on top of this entire self-exploration, all about me kind of a year. And it's just really freaking exciting. So with all of that excitement definitely comes a lot of nerves though. I have never had to make friends as an adult. I mean, I've never had to, friends have just kind of been built in, right? When you're in college, it's so easy to make friends because you're just always around people. And then as you get older, you've kind of got friends built in from when you were younger, or other people just kind of bring people into the friend group. So your friend group just continues to grow. I personally have never had to Like, I haven't been in situations where, like, it's just me and I need to go out and mingle and I need to go make friends, or else, like, I don't have a social life and I don't have anything to do. Like, I haven't really ever been in that situation as an adult. So I haven't really had to put myself out there and, like, make new friends and really, like, kind of make myself uncomfortable. I haven't had to do that yet. And it's honestly such a big motivating factor behind moving. When I was deciding where to move, I was kind of going back and forth between 3 places, really. So I was going back and forth between Austin, Chicago, and Seattle. Those were, like, my top 3 choices. And Austin, absolutely love that city. 10 out of 10, great time, right? But I have a lot of friends that are going to be living in Austin. And when I really started to think about it, I was like, Maddie, this isn't the experience that you're going for. I am really, really aching to have that, like, kind of fish out of water experience. And I want to come move somewhere where I don't have anyone to lean on as a crutch, where I really have to push myself outside of my comfort zone. And so that kind of led me to Chicago or Seattle. And honestly, the only hang up on both of these cities was the weather. So Chicago's winter is going to be absolutely brutal. It's going to be brutal. I know that I'm unprepared for it mentally. I'm going to have to, like, talk myself up and get myself ready. I'm going to have to, like, buy a whole winter wardrobe, learn how to do layers. Louis going to have, like, boots and a jacket. It's a whole thing. I know. And really, Seattle, I've always wanted to live in the Pacific Northwest, and I think that I will probably eventually make my way there, at least for a stint. Obviously, the weather there, not ideal all the time either, but the hiking out there, the nature out there, that is, like, definitely one of my biggest draws towards wanting to go and try out the Pacific Northwest. But for right now, I have landed on Chicago and I get to do the big city thing. That's always been a bucket list item for me. I've always wanted to experience an actual big city. Like, I'm selling my car. Like, I'm not even going to have a car, which is wild to me. I'm living in the midst of, like, the downtown area, which is going to be so exciting. Apparently, there's just, like, so much going on all the time. I'm living in a studio. I've never done the studio thing. So I'm just excited. I'm going to be doing that, like, classic city girl life. And that's really, really exciting to me. It's completely new to me. I am excited to date in a new city. I've kind of been swimming in the same dating pond for a lot of years now. I am ready to branch out. And honestly, I'm super excited to see who I am in a new environment now that I've done all of this work on myself and am continuing to do all of this work on myself, right? Like, I'm nowhere near finished with the inner work and doing the work on myself. And that's a lifelong journey, right? That's never going to stop. But I am so excited to see kind of where I take my life, what direction I take my life when it's a completely fresh start. I'm interested to see who I like to be friends with, who I'm interested in the dating capacity, what things I like to do in a new city, the kind of people, places, activities that I attract into my life. Like, I'm just super excited to really go into this with no preconceived notions. No one is going to know me on that deep of a level. No one's going to know that much about my past. Like, I'm just excited for that fresh start, new chapter. It's just going to be really, really, really an incredible way to finish out this year. And I'm super freaking excited. Obviously, I'm going to be moving sober, so that's going to be super interesting. I feel like most people that I've met in my adult life have been kind of with, like, alcohol involved. It just makes things easier. Also, I've never dated sober, so I'm excited for the dating scene, though, because I think this is going to be the first time in my life that I date for real, like, on an adult level, like, actual dating. And that is so exciting to me because I feel like I have been in this, like, perpetual college situationship style dating for far too long. And I'm really excited to branch out and go on a bunch of dates and try out a bunch of different types of people, see what I like, what I don't like, and kind of broaden my horizons. It's all just super exciting. And yeah, it's a really big step and it's nerve-wracking but exciting all at the same time. And I have like T minus May, June, July, 3 months, 4 months. 4 months. So it's going to come quicker than I know it. But yeah, that's a major life update and I'm excited for it. And I will keep y'all updated on all things Chicago. Now, last night I recorded a whole episode, right? And it was kind of focused around moving and kind of what I'm excited for, what I'm scared about, kind of a longer version of what we just spoke about, right? And I recorded that whole episode. It ended up being like 30 something minutes long. I felt like decent about it whenever I was recording it. And then I took a gummy. So I took these, like, I've been trying these Delta 8 gummies to like go to sleep because I don't sleep wonderfully. Sometimes I have a hard time going to sleep. Sometimes I have a hard time staying to sleep. Regardless, I took a gummy before bed. And y'all, my anxiety went through the freaking roof. Like, I haven't felt like that. I'm not a person that like claims to be an anxious person. That's not my tick, right? So last night though, like it was textbook anxiety. I mean, I got into bed and I like didn't even turn my TV on. I didn't read a book. I didn't do anything. I literally got into my bed, pulled the sheets over my head and was just like, oh wow, like I feel like crawling out of my skin, uncomfortable. And I really felt the need to talk about this because I felt this level of discomfort because I started to have these thoughts roll through my head about what other people think about the work that I'm doing. And it made me so physically uncomfortable and so nervous and anxious and scared. And it was like an overwhelming feeling. It started with like one thought of like, are people going to think that this is dumb? And then it spiraled into this whole like, who do you think you are trying to do a podcast and have an Instagram page and like create a brand for yourself? Like, why do you think that you're capable of doing that? Like, there's no way that anything's going to come of this. People are probably making fun of you. People are probably sending your stuff and laughing about it. Like, it was so negative. It was such a negative headspace I was in last night. And it just snowballed. It wouldn't stop. Like, I mean, I remember laying in bed and I was just like, please fall asleep. Like, I just want to fall asleep. I just want to go to sleep and I want to wake up and I want to not feel like this anymore. And I haven't felt like that in a really long time. I really just wanted to address the fact that I don't know if these feelings will ever go away. Like, I don't know if there's ever a time in life where you don't worry about what other people think or that you don't get nervous about putting yourself out there and stepping outside of your comfort zone. And I think that even people that may seem like they're comfortable with being uncomfortable or like it feels natural for them to, I don't know, get on a podcast or get in front of a video camera or put their content out there or talk about what their passion is or really, you know, network in a room and really talk about their career, or talk about their passions, or talk about themselves, or those people that seem like it's just natural for them, or like they're really good at it, or like they've been doing it forever. Like, I think that the way that I felt last night is a very common feeling, and I just want to normalize it because it's okay to feel like that. Now, when it comes to like overcoming that, that's the hard part, right? I was sitting there and I was like, I just need to go to bed. There's nothing I can do about this tonight. Like, I just need to sleep this off. Obviously, the gummy like put that into like full force, but I was like, I need to just sleep. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, what was that? That was intense. That was crazy. I don't want to ever feel that again. So I made a pact with myself when I woke up this morning. I was like, you're going to go to the gym. You're going to feel good about yourself. You are going to come home. You're going to eat a good breakfast. You're going to go hard at work today. You're going to do all of the things that make you feel good. And then you are going to sit down tonight and you are going to film an episode. And you are going to feel good about the episode that you film. You're going to feel good about yourself for filming the episode. And you're going to get over your fear. You're going to do it regardless, right? So me getting in front of this camera right now is me pretty much saying F you to the thought process that I had last night of like, I'm not good enough. You can't do it. What are you doing? This is silly. Like, no. No. I love doing this. Obviously, I'm not, freaking Alex Cooper or Oprah Winfrey or Jay Shetty or like, no, obviously right now I'm not. I'm just getting started. I'm just learning. And part of that is just generally not being overly confident in yourself because you're new at something, but you have to start somewhere. Right? So there are two types of people, right? There are people that think about the things that they dream of and the life that they want to live. And then there are the people that go out and actually make that life happen. And the only difference between those two people is the action, the act of doing the work to learn your craft, to perfect your passion, to get better at your work or your skill or whatever it may be. And, that's what I just kept telling myself is that no. Right now, obviously, I'm not the best podcaster on the internet. I know that. I'm well aware of that. I know that, I may not put out content that is like jaw-dropping right now. And that is okay. It is completely okay to be in a learning phase. It is completely okay to understand that you have to start somewhere. When I was sitting here having all of these like racing thoughts and anxious feelings inside of me, I just kept telling myself like, you're just starting out. I'm just starting at this. I'm just learning about all of this podcasting and YouTubing and content creation and learning how to tell a story and learning how to interview another person and learning how to market myself and build a brand. And like, there's so much that goes into it. And the reality is that I've only been doing this for 4 months. For 4 months. And do you know how hard it is to not be a perfectionist? My entire life, I have been dubbed the perfectionist, and I generally have been very good at most things that I do. And that has a lot to do with the level of pressure that I put on myself. Like I don't need anyone else's external pressure because I put enough on myself. I've been like that my entire life. I grew up playing sports. I was incredibly good at school. Like I was just very laser focused, very perfectionist and hard on myself. And I told myself when I started doing these videos and this podcast, and when I finally started like putting it out there on the internet and social media, I made a pact with myself that I was going to give myself some grace. I was going to be easy on myself. I was not going to approach this with that same perfectionist attitude where everything has to be just so, because analysis paralysis is a real thing, y'all. I could sit here and record these episodes. I could record an episode every single night, and I could find enough things to pick apart about them that I don't like, so much to the fact that I would not end up posting any of them. I could do that. I 100% could. With my level of perfectionist and just overanalyzing and caring about what other people think, like, yeah, it would be easy to sit here and pick apart the work that I do to the point of not even posting it or doing anything with it. And I made a pact with myself that I was not going to allow that to happen because I really, really enjoy this. Like, I have a lot of fun doing this. If there's nothing else that ever comes of any of this, I enjoy making these videos. I enjoy being on this podcast, and I promised myself that I was going to give myself grace and just be a little bit more relaxed on myself and understanding of the fact that I'm just learning all of this, and it's going to take time for me to get comfortable with the process of making all of this, the process of editing, the process of learning to talk and feel comfortable in front of a camera and having a guest on stage, like all of that, it's going to take time. And that's a big reason why I've kind of been on a little bit of a hiatus for the last few weeks, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't try to force this so much, that I didn't try to force it to be perfect, that I didn't try to force myself to have an episode out every week, that I didn't try and force time in my life to like be able to do this. So I didn't want to force this podcast so much that I ended up resenting it, because there have been so many times in my life where I have approached things with such a over analytical perfectionist attitude that I end up resenting that thing that I'm doing, because it just feels so stressful and it feels like I'm never going to be good enough. And it feels negative when you approach things with that mindset of like everything has to be just so in order for me to commit to it or to do it or to put it out there. It's a very negative, heavy feeling, because you can always find something wrong with everything that you do. I mean, and that's never going to be over. I don't know that I'll ever put out the absolute perfect episode where I just feel like I look perfect, sound perfect, every word was perfect. Like, I don't know if that's ever possible, because like you're always most critical of yourself, right? So I say all of this to say that last night was one of those nights where I like started second guessing myself to the point of, what am I even doing? Like, I just need to give up. I just need to be done. I don't want to do this. This is embarrassing. I don't like the way that I feel. Like, what do other people think of me? What if this is a total flop? Like those feelings are completely normal and they're completely natural. And I think that I am going to keep feeling those feelings for a very long time. And I wanted to address them and I wanted to normalize them. And I also wanted to remind y'all that when you do start to feel like that, that is the time where you need to push yourself outside of your comfort zone more than any other time. You need to get in front of that camera like I'm doing right now, and I needed to record an episode, because that is what my mind was telling me that I could not do and that I could not be good at. So I got in front of this camera and I recorded this episode, and I'm going to put it out there regardless of how it ends up and regardless of how I feel about it, because I need to face the fear that is inside of my head, and I just need to get over it, right? I say all of this to say that it is okay to not be the best. It is okay to have no idea what you're doing. It is okay to change direction in what you're doing. The key here is to start. The key here is to do that thing that you want to do. Just start. You're not going to be the best when you start. There's going to be people that are going to judge you for starting. You are going to judge yourself pretty heavily when you're first starting and first doing. There are going to be so many times where you're sitting there thinking to yourself, like, what am I doing? Like, this is silly. Like, I don't know why I think that I can be that person that can do that thing. But there are so many people that think like that and let that fear paralyze them to the point that they just never even get started. And that is the difference between people that have dreams and people that become successful at those dreams. It is the act of doing, putting one foot in front of the other and just starting. Every single time I do this podcast, I get a little bit better. Now, I've only been doing this for like 4 months. So yeah, right now, I'm not making the best podcasts that are on the internet. That's okay. Every single time I do this, I get a little bit better. I learn something a little bit more. The difference is that at least I'm trying. At least I started. At least I'm putting one foot in front of the other, because the reality of the situation is that you are never just going to wake up one day and be the best in whatever it is that you want to do. It's just not going to happen. Everybody has to start from somewhere. You have to start from somewhere. You have to be bad at something in order to become the best at something. That is a natural progression of learning to do something, of getting better at something, of becoming the best at something. Honestly, it's such a fulfilling path. And I think that that's, I feel like I'm starting to understand that saying of like falling in love with the process, because I really am learning to fall in love with this process and fall in love with the process of being bad at something and getting better at it over time. I feel like you learn a lot about yourself when you allow yourself that grace and allow yourself that room to learn and to accept the fact that you might not be the best at something, but then watch yourself slowly get better and better and better. It's a really satisfying and like fulfilling path to be on. So I really am just trying to fall in love with the process. I am trying to give myself a lot more grace and room for growth. And I'm trying to remind myself continuously that as long as I love it and as long as it makes me happy, then who cares what anyone else thinks? And that is so much easier said than done. I am walking that right now, and I know that all is so much easier said than done. But once you start to do it and you start to see the positive results and kind of the snowball effect of that, it's addicting. So yeah, I guess I just really want to encourage all of you to start working on that thing that you want to start on. Start working on that project. Start working on that goal. Start working on that dream. Start working on whatever it is that you're telling yourself that you can't do, that you shouldn't do, that you wouldn't do. Start. Just start. Tomorrow, there is no time like the present to just start. You will amaze yourself at what putting one foot in front of the other, where when you look up from that, you'll amaze yourself at where you've taken yourself. You really, really will. And I've not even like scratched the surface of, where I want to go and what I want to do. But I do know that these early months and these early years are building the foundation of everything that I kind of see for myself in the future. And I know that none of those future dreams and goals are possible without the work that I'm doing right now. As uncomfortable and anxiety ridden as this work is, I know that it is the only way to get to where I want to be. So I want to encourage all of you to start that journey today as well. Because what's the worst that can happen? You wake up in a couple months, a few years, whatever it is, and everything that you've worked for works out exactly like it's supposed to. Or you wake up in a couple months, a couple years, whatever, and you look back and say, God, I really regret not following that dream or starting that project way back when, because think about where I would be right now had I just started the work then. So I am honestly so excited to be back on the pod with y'all and making this new episode. And I am so excited for where life is taking me. I'm going to continue to keep y'all updated on my life updates. And I am super excited for some new things coming to the pod. So I do have my first interviews I have guests on the podcast coming soon. I've done my first interview and I feel like I have so much to learn in terms of hosting a podcast with, guests on and interviewing people and things like that. So I'm super excited to, keep learning my craft there. But stay tuned because I do have guests coming on, and I'm excited for y'all to kind of hear some different perspectives, hear me flow with people, talk about life. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, however it is that you are consuming this content. Please be sure to interact with us. I love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much for joining me again, and I will see you back next week.